Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. Officials and newsmen at first discounted those eyewitness descriptions as being beyond belief. However, the reports persisted.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Boogeyman Radio. Tonight's a fudged up night. My internet is basically out on my computer, so I'm using my cell phone, which keeps coming in and out. So if it gets really bad tonight, we'll probably cut the show short. But outside of that, we're here for you guys. We're going to do this. We're going to try this.
Yes.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah. Just obviously, I mean,
Not yelling.
the quality's meh, but I mean, not much we can do about that. So,
Yeah.
Ain't no thing.
Okay.
What's up, Josh? Good to have you in the chat.
What is up, Josh?
But no, so how was your week? We'll get into this real quick.
My week was actually pretty good. Might be getting a promotion here really soon.
Hey!
Yeah, I did an interview for that, and then I have one more interview to go with the regional boss, and
Very nice.
and then we'll see. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there won't be any change to my hours and stuff like that, so that's a good thing.
I say just more
but-
like a title bump up, pretty much.
What's that?
Is it basically like you're getting a new title, like a new position title, or what? Oh, great. The internet's doing
It's a
this
new position.
Kelly, yeah, I don't know what's going on either. My internet was going slow earlier, and now Dave's is acting up. I wonder if it's just a thing going on right now. I wonder if maybe what is it? What do they say? The sunspots are messing with the internet signal or something. Supposedly,
That could be.
I mean, never know.
That could be.
Cassie, we'll be here if we can. Nothing's guaranteed with Dave's internet right now, so we'll see what we. Yeah, sunflares. Thanks, Cassie. I thought there was a kind of a spike up. I pay attention to this guy. What is his name? Suspicious Observer or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but he's on YouTube and he really just focuses on the sun and talks about a bunch of cool stuff that I follow as well. But yeah, there's been some fun sun activity here recently, and I wonder if it's just hitting us a little hard at the moment.
Yeah, it's so far. You've cut out a couple times, but
Yeah.
we're all right so far. So also this week, I found out, I guess I found out I was on Tubi.
Oh, good.
The Into the Light film is on Tubi now.
Oh, good.
So like about a year ago, I kind of signed a deal with a guy who's a distributor and stuff like that, and it seems like he's starting to make on his promises
cool.
about getting it on for streaming services and whatnot. So yeah, things are looking up there. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. And then last couple of days, I've been seeing somebody's been posting some negative shit on Facebook. Kind of clout chasing, I guess you could say. He's I got to commend him. He's doing a good job of manipulating the algorithm from Facebook. Like,
I think I know who you're talking about, but it could be way off. Because I thought I saw a really interesting post calling him what?
There's a guy from the UK.
Okay, then no, it's not what I'm thinking of. Anyways,
He calls himself the Ghost Challenger or something like that.
oh okay,
So he's making all these posts about the paranormal, how it's all fake and none of it's real. He's a complete non-believer, all this jazz, and so he's going on and on and on been doing it for almost 3 days now, and he's like making these controversial, argumentative posts like every hour, it seems like, and people are responding to it, right? So the more people respond to it, the more he's getting seen on other people's feeds.
Yeah.
So he's building up that algorithm. And then I guess today he put this challenge, I'm using air quotes, this challenge to people to send him to a location and he'll stay there for 24 hours. I'm like, oh, so you're telling people that shit's fake and then you want them to pay to send you somewhere so you can ghost hunt?
Right.
He's calling it a paranormal challenge. It's like, no, you're just wanting fucking free trips. I called him the equivalent of CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and shit like that. Like,
Is that pretty much what your post was about last night?
Yeah, this guy's just stirring shit just so people will pay for his stuff. He's doing it for clout and for attention. It's fucking clear to me, at least.
Yeah, some people just can't see it that way, you know. Some people just don't, you know.
Yeah, like I shit post, you know, every now and then. Every now and then, I'll call somebody out or I'll say something about something I've seen, but I'm not. What this guy's doing, I don't do that shit. Nobody I've ever met is doing this guy.
Yeah.
What a free trip.
Don't we all?
And never leave the plane.
I'd love ghost hunting for free. Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sign me up.
And this is the thing, you know, people, that's why a lot of people are on YouTube and trying to do things like that so they can just ghost hunt and get paid for it. Because it's like anybody else's passion, like whether it's like a football player or a doctor or whatever, they want to get paid for what they do. So, I do not.
Yeah.
I do not.
Yeah.
Speaking of shitposts.
Oh my God, I hate you so much. You just show that on the stream. Why not? Oh my God.
It's orgasm equals love.
Oh. The show needs to come with a warning label.
Crapped up.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you froze. Can you hear me okay? David. Uh-oh. That's it. It was the shirt. This was the shirt. Oh, no. Stream said, no, you can't put that on there. And just get YouTube had to kick us off, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, there he goes.
I heard.
There you go. You're back. And he's gone. He got completely removed from StreamYard. Actually, he probably just left. Don't get me wrong. That shirt is awesome. Yeah. I don't know, Josh, if you were here, but there was a couple episodes, like a while, I don't know if it was a while back, but not too long ago, where there's a conspiracy theory going, right? Exactly. Yeah, Shadow Band again. There's a conspiracy going around that it's either North Dakota or South Dakota didn't exist. Like, I can't remember which one it is, but it's just like, how do they not exist? Like, I love a good juicy conspiracy theory, but how? You know, just how? He's back.
My signal keeps going like this. It's ridiculous.
Just tell all your other background.
I will say, if it goes out again, we'll just end it.
All right. We'll just end it. I'll have to disappoint Cassie.
We'll blame Cassie. This is why you don't leave.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm not blaming Cassie. I'm actually blaming your shirt, because right after you showed your shirt and started talking about it, boom, it cut out. I was just like, Shadow Band, done. You're done. YouTube decided to cut you off.
We're not even monetized, so it shouldn't matter. Oh my God.
Shouldn't matter.
Can't say that either.
No, you can't. You can't say that. Well, was there anything else you wanted to get into before we head off? Because
that was it.
All right, fair enough. Well, how was your 4th of July? I don't know if you heard me. Dave, how was your
Did
4th
not.
of July?
It was all right. I just edited video.
All right.
Just
Well,
that's all I did.
I still have all my fingers. We're good. The show went very
Woohoo!
successful at work.
Good. Got all your toes too.
Yes, have everything. And then the show, obviously, at my family's thing went really well. Except, fun little story before we begin. So we were setting up the show, my cousin and I and a couple friends, for my family's 4th of July fireworks show.
Right.
And there was this little kid wanting to light off fireworks. Hey, man, I'm all for a kid lighting off fireworks. Just go away from my stuff, please.
Mm-hmm.
So I warned the kid. I was like, hey, this kid was like 7, 8, 9 years old. No adult supervision, by the way. Anyways,
Figured.
right. So I was just like, hey, little buddy, go down the ways, light stuff off. It's cool. It's fine. Every firework he lit off, he got a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. I'm like, okay. And I warned him one more time. I was just like, hey, but I see you're slowly moving. Move. So he's like, all right. And he has this like car thing. I don't know what it is, but it had wheels. He lit this thing, and it rolled perfectly down the sidewalk, down to one of my fireworks. Luckily, it was Saturn missiles, right? And it probably gets about, I would say, this far away from each other. And that little car thing starts lighting up like crackling little things that are popping out of the car.
Oh,
and I immediately go, oh my God, guys, we need to move that. And one of my friends jumps into action, and he's right above it. He goes to pick it up. We don't even see, like, the wick doesn't even light. It lights off inside of the firework. And we just see like 5 Saturn missiles just pepper his freaking face and chest. And I look at Zach, which his name is Zach. I look at him, I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? And while this like barrage of 300 Saturn missiles are going off, like right to our right, he's just like, my face, it blew up in my freaking face. And thankfully he was okay. There was no, like, he was good. He was good. But man, that's why you don't stand over fireworks, kids. Don't ever stand over fireworks.
You should have just picked it.
That's what I would have done. I was like, just move it with your foot, move it with your foot, whatever, you know. Like, but other than that, my 4th of July was awesome. Week's been great. Yeah, but it's been a pretty good week. I just want to tell that highlight story.
What sucks, like, with the internet, I hope it doesn't go out while we're talking about this. But we since our last show, we actually did the Chris Williams, Dustin Perry.
Oh yeah.
For those of you that were wondering how that went, if you didn't watch that video I put up last week, it went really good. It was an amazing. Yes. They were amazing.
Yes.
I had a predisposition about Dustin because of some of the things that he posts and things like that. I kind of thought he'd be all churchy and kind of uptight, a little bit. Not the
Careful
case.
Now.
Not the case. He was pretty cool. Like, got to talking, shared some ideas about experiments and stuff like that. Had him participate in an experiment. He had an experience.
I want to say which went really well.
Yeah. Got to hear him go, oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
So that was good. And then, of course, Chris Williams. She was a doll. Very nice. Very nice. I loved her. She has that outlook that we kind of have when it comes to like the whole paratainment thing. It's very refreshing to see somebody that comes from that aspect, and shares the same
side that has been a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very nice to hear. And I told her about a former co-star of hers that about my little thing that I had to go through last week or the week before, whatever. She thought that was funny. She basically said that's how he is. I'm like, Okay. But no egos. That was a great thing about the weekend.
Yes, that's what I was really shouldn't say surprised because I shouldn't be surprised. Like that shouldn't be a surprise, but thankfully, when people are in the limelight and experience life like that, they tend to have a little "I'm better than you" attitude, and they didn't. They were actually great, and
Yeah.
watching them growing up, watching them investigate on TV, and then watching them in real life was really cool. And I 100% believe Chris is an observer. She is 100% an observer. She kind of she'll ask some questions and stuff, but
Yeah.
she really kind of hangs back and just watches the entire scenario, just watches
Right.
everything. When Dustin, he likes to get involved, and also he's a very involved guy. Like that's what I noticed with our differences of hanging out with Chris and hanging out with Dustin. Dustin had he was very involved, and we were all doing sessions. And Chris, it was more of you all go do your own thing and
Yeah.
just investigate, have fun. And so but then watching Chris later when it was between the break when she went down to the Shadow Man hallway, she was just observing. Really, there was
For the
not a
most
whole
part.
lot. Yeah, it was really cool being able to see both of them investigate. That's probably the highlight for me.
Yeah. We tried to get them to stay after with us and investigate, but I guess Chris had to fly home, and Dustin had to take her to the airport in the morning or something like that, real early. So they
Yeah.
couldn't. But they were exhausted. You could tell
Oh
Chris
yeah.
was exhausted. But I did talk to her. Should I say I haven't?
I wouldn't say yet.
Okay, I
Just
haven't. You know, I was trying to get them to do the TikTok with us, and
yeah.
none of them would do the TikTok. That kind of bummed me out a little bit, but the TikTok turned out pretty good. I
I
thought
thought it did turn out pretty good.
I'd share it, but I don't have my computer on.
I know. I know. That's all right. All right.
Um,
So
but going into this, even still being on topic, with the spirit communication with the Dustin Perry when we were investigating with him, what I thought was cool, and I complimented him on this because he had really good control over his groups.
yeah.
But the way he got everybody involved was
Yes.
interesting, and that's part of one of the experiments he does is he has everybody say ask the same question, and because he kind of has this belief, which kind of is in line with some of the things we've talked about people's vibrations, that
Yeah.
vibrational energy, the frequencies people use. Maybe a spirit is more in tune with one person as opposed to another person, and so he has everybody ask the same question, not at the same time, but
Right.
one after another.
Yeah. But
To
the way
me,
that he
that's
had
the
everything
part.
controlled, but it still felt free, was just the best part. I felt like.
Yeah, yeah, it was very nice. Met the new version of Ghost Hunters a few years ago when Grant was still on it. They investigated a house I volunteer at. Good folks. Yeah, Brian was a friend of mine. In fact, I'm about to beat some ace in fantasy football. You better watch it. He's in my. I joined his fantasy football league.
Oh.
Um, yeah, he's a Baltimore fan, and I think he's gonna slip up. He's talking a lot of crap. He doesn't know who he's messing with.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Well.
know. I
Before
was
we
top
start,
top
huh? What?
20%. I said I was top 20% in Yahoo Fantasy Sports,
Oh yeah, I forgot you were really good at fantasy stuff.
and I win every time in on NFL.com. Last 4
Well,
years,
well, put your money where your mouth's at.
I am. I am. Winner's gonna take all. It's a $50 buy-in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very
So,
nice.
all right.
So before we get started, though, I just want to use our platform and our time, and I really don't think, or I don't care what people think as far as, um, how do I want to say this? If you haven't heard of it yet or are curious about it, check out a movie called The Sound of Freedom. Check it out. Look up the trailer. Go watch it if you want to. I understand it may not be some for some people. Just know of its existence and that it's really happening.
And it's based on a true story, yes.
I'd say it's based on a true story. The events of trafficking is real.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest. It's the fastest growing industry, I would say, probably in the world. And with recent events of our lack of border security, it's a lot easier for it to happen. So I just want to, we need to bring light to things that really matter in this world, and I think it's ridiculous that mainstream media outlets are tying this to conspiracy theories when this is all real stuff.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched it yet, haven't paid any attention to it, go look up The Sound of Freedom.
It beat Indiana Jones.
It did, and here's the crazy thing: it was in way less theaters than Indiana Jones.
Like half.
Thousands, thousands of theaters, and it topped out at I think 40 million. Which I went and saw Indiana Jones with my dad. I enjoyed the film. To me, that movie was a fan service film for a lot of fans. But
I read the Sound of Freedom was actually owned by Disney. Disney had the rights to it for 5 years and wouldn't do anything with it. And then this other studio bought it, and they went to like Netflix and Hulu and all these other different companies, and they all wouldn't do anything with it. So good for them for doing whatever they can and showing people like you don't need big companies. You don't. Hey, what's up, Dwayne?
Hey, what's up, Dwayne? But yeah, go check it out if you haven't looked into it. Don't want to stall us too much. I just wanted to use our platform to promote it for sure.
Yeah, no, that's fine, perfectly fine. Guys, tonight we're planning on talking about spirit communication. Mind you, for Dwayne and anybody else that jumps in at this point, my internet is jacked up right now, so I'm using my cell phone to do my part. And,
yeah, he's not normally like this. It's way better.
And even now, like it's like doing this crap. My signal is so. If it goes out, hopefully it doesn't. Knock on wood. We may end up shutting the show down early, but a lot of my notes were on my computer, and I can access the internet on there for some reason because the hard line is not.
It's the government.
Giving service. Probably.
It's the government. They're shutting you down.
Probably.
Said this guy's done. He's looked up too many conspiracy theories. He's done.
Something I said.
Right. Probably. Who did you piss off? Zach Bagans?
Well,
is Zach Bagans canceling Dave, guys? Oh my god.
Probably. I wouldn't.
That's a hell of a reach.
Well, after on the Paratainment Review channel,
oh yeah, good point.
I had everybody put FUZB in the comments for.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Paratainment, watch the latest episode of Project Fear.
Yeah.
It was pretty dang good. It was Chelsea's decision of where they went. I was colorfully impressed.
You want to tell everybody what we caught?
On their
Project
channel?
Fear. Yeah.
So,
I wish I could upload it and actually have a video.
Right, that would be nice. So we were watching episode 2 of Project Fear. I couldn't tell you the location. Do you remember the location?
Was it Sweet Springs?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, man. Anyways, one of the investigators was in a hallway, and to his right, he heard some noises, and it was like down in the hallway. You could see the camera looking down the hallway. So he's shining his flashlight down the hallway. Well, then all of a sudden, what looks like in the trim of the door, you see like kind of like this dark mass block out a little bit of light. It comes out and then it goes back in. It happens really quick though. And I tell Dave, I was like, wait a second, what was that? And he backs it up and he checks it out and he sees it too. And we let the thing just play and they make no mention of it. They don't say anything.
No.
So I'm wondering if they just didn't see it, or like what, or if they just discredited it something else. I'd like to know, obviously, but I'd like to get their opinion on it and see if they think it might be something. But at first I was thinking, well, what if his flashlight, like his finger covered the flashlight or something? No, that's not it. You would see how big that finger would be in the flashlight. So hoping that Dakota sees your message, and like Dave sent the like pictures and screenshots to Dakota, and hopefully Dakota sees
Yeah.
it. So who
I'm
knows?
slowly uploading that video. That way we can share it with everybody else. Just show them what the thing does. But it's going to be slow. We can show them at the end of the show.
What are you talking about? What video? What video?
I'm uploading our TikTok video here, and then I'm uploading.
Oh,
I'm also uploading the video from Dakota's show.
that's why the connection's spotty.
Yeah. So we can show that later. If you guys stick around, we'll get to see that. So spirit communication, and one of the reasons I just labeled it spirit communication is because there's so many different avenues for paranormal research to communicate with an entity or to attempt to communicate with an entity. So right out the gate, let's talk about like the different types here, because there's some that some people like more than others. Some are basic, some are a little more technologically advanced, I guess. So let's go on with basic. How about knocking? And I think this should be attributed, like the modern ghost hunter. I would attribute this to ghost hunters because they started doing the shaving and haircut.
That's true.
That's something that a lot of people still use. I mean, and a lot of people do that without even thinking, really. And I think that's a big influence by ghost hunters on that. But I think probably one of the oldest and still relevant, the Ouija board, man.
Oh yeah,
the spirit
absolutely.
board.
Well, okay, so
By Fisher Price.
I'm kind of warming up to it, but I'm seeing it more of as like a toy or an entertainment value than a spiritual communication device. Does that make sense?
Yes and no. What you mean by a toy?
Well, it's
what you mean?
Like, you go to Spencer's and it's in their what is it? Board game aisle. I almost said game board aisle, but it's not game board aisle.
Walmart sells them.
Yeah, so to me, it's just like they're starting to make it look like a toy for things for kids to play with, when I don't think kids should be playing with them personally, because you never know what you're reaching out to. But
Parker Brothers, man.
Yep.
That's Parker Brothers for you. But yeah, so, I get it. If they're advertising it to kids and stuff like that.
And for me, there's the bit of skepticism, because I have yet to experience the movement of a Ouija board, so it's really hard for me to just be like, oh yeah, you're moving it, or it's not hard. Right. It's not hard for me to think that, or it's at least one of the people holding it is moving it, kind of thing.
I understand that. I've used a Ouija board twice.
Yeah.
Once with Spurrier, and then once by myself.
Yeah, see, like I'm obviously more inclined to trust people that I know, that I really do trust my life with, than than just some person on TV using a Ouija board. Like I don't know.
And I don't know what kind of experiences you guys might have with them, but my time with Spurrier, like nothing happened. The thing didn't even move. When I was alone, did have activity, but it wasn't with the board. Yeah. So
really?
John has this board he built that in the bottom of it has a mic system, a sensitive mic system built into the Ouija board itself, and then he's got a receiver. The board has the transmitter, and he's got a separate receiver that he takes into another room or in a different area away from the board, and people will use the board and he'll listen, and we see if we capture any voices. Because if you start getting communication with the board, and it's supposed to reflect an entity being there,
Yeah.
then perhaps you might catch some audio too.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's that. See that I'm more inclined. Like that's definitely more of a scientific thing going on
Right.
there. Than just like
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. I that method seems better. Seems like a better approach for sure.
You're cutting out for me.
Oh, you're cutting out for me. You're a little frozen there.
Oh no. Oh no. But when I did that alone, what we had or what I had happen, I had a voice, like an
Yeah.
audible voice that we captured on camera too. We heard it twice. So that was pretty interesting as far as I'm concerned. But that wasn't due to the Ouija board, I don't think. Unless they're like it was an old school ghost, like, oh no, take that out of the house.
Yeah. I like that thing in my house with right there negative energy. No.
You're bringing the devil.
It's just the devil. What's this cardboard thing gonna do? It's just the devil. What?
So I want to know, out of everybody that's watching, how many of you have used the Ouija board, and throw your experience down there. Like, did it really do anything for you, or do you question whether or not the other people were moving it?
I got a funny story. I got a story my mom tells me.
Okay.
Mind you, could have been on something. Just a bunch of teenagers playing in the woods. So they decided to go to a family graveyard. This is my mom was a teenager, so years and years ago. So they decided to take a Ouija board with them to try to have a little seance contact. They bring some candles. The whole, they're really setting the mood here. And
Yeah.
she swears up and down to me on her life that the Ouija board levitated off the head. They were doing it on a headstone, by the way. They had it sitting on a headstone. And she swears that the thing lifted off the headstone and they all booked it. Just ran. That's what she swears.
Huh.
Yeah. So that was her experience, but it could have been just sensationalism. One person gets scared.
Could've
Oh my
been.
God, guys, look at that! And then just like run, just,
Yeah.
There's a bunch of scared teenagers, right? And she's told me some other stories about stuff like that, but like that was her experience with Ouija boards. And myself, I've never had one, so
Yeah. Growing up, I was always told not to use them.
Yeah.
My aunt and uncles and mom and
Bobby
they all
Bougie,
used it.
put that Ouija board up. It's the devil.
But like, they never had any negative experiences with it. They just, said they talked to somebody or something.
Yeah.
And that was it.
It's like your own personal seance, right? It's because you think about it back in the day, before they really had the major technology, the scientific technology we have today, the only piece of tech that was considered really back in the day was yourself.
Yeah.
People would hire people to
that
come
way.
in to do seances, and the spirit would channel through you. Now, obviously, it was sensationalized a lot, much like how we see a bunch of stuff on YouTube today. But to me, the seances were the original part of spirit communication and, Allah, spirit communicate, like spiritualism, whatever you want to call it. But, yeah, so it's just.
You read it out loud.
Okay, well,
For
yeah,
blind
sure.
viewers.
I've used Ouija boards before. I even knew about Serious Paranormal, and he used them when he was younger. I believe in movement of the piece, but believe subconscious played in the movement. We used in Graveyard too. See that? It's absolutely like I see right there what he just said about your subconscious manipulation. I definitely believe that can happen. Like it's kind of like
this is something I was going to get into. Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's get into it. You have notes on it.
Just go ahead and finish what you were going to say.
Okay, so it's kind of like pendulums, right? Like some people can, like they literally train their spiritual abilities, ESP, whatever you want to call it, on how to change direction of a pendulum. Some people they will
Mhm.
try to use their mind to keep the pendulum from either going that way or going that way, left and right, up and down, what have you. Same thing with dowsing rods. Absolutely, Josh. See what I would. So
Yeah.
for me, though, I definitely believe physical movement plays into that way more. Whether it's someone super shaky, because so for me, I have shaky hands. I can barely use dowsing rods. It sucks. But I would love to have a rig that I could just literally put my dowsing rods in, have them like completely level, and if they start to move for some reason, that could be something. You know what I'm saying?
Why doesn't somebody build some with like a line level attached to it, like built it into the
There you
dowsing
go.
rods?
There you go.
You'll solve all your problems. That way you
Exactly.
can monitor if you're level and then see if it
Yes.
works.
Exactly.
I want to go back to the pendulum thing because, and if anybody watching uses pendulums, if you don't know about this, try this sometime. Get a piece of paper and draw a single line down the middle of it. Hang the pendulum in the middle of the paper and watch it swing. It'll start swinging with that line. When it does, turn the line sideways and just keep holding the pendulum there. You'll notice it'll stop. It'll come to a stop, and then it'll start swinging the other way with the line again. Then if you draw a circle on there, the pendulum will actually swing in a circle. And
Power of suggestion.
all of this, exactly, it's your subconscious. You see this line, you kind of rock with the line, which is it's odd. It's like it's like you said, power of suggestion. It's a mind trick that we play on ourselves.
Here's a good thought. So a type of Estes method, just without spirit boxes, have someone blindfolded, can't hear anything, have them hold a pendulum.
And
Do a series of questions, like yes or no questions, like two spirits, and then see if the answers come through the pendulum. If they can't hear you, if they can't see it, that to me that removes the power of the subconscious, or at least that removes the power of suggestion of you wanting to move yourself.
The only problem is, like, you don't know if they're anticipating the questions.
How would they? I mean, if they don't know what the questions are, what would they anticipate?
They know you're asking a question, and in their mind, they're either going to be looking for a yes or a no. Now, I would, in the same light, I would just hang a pendulum from like a stick or something. That's like
I was just saying as to test to me that truly include the human experience. That way, you can determine whether the subconscious does affect it or not. That's that's what I'm getting at. It's not only is it a paranormal, ghost experiment, but it's also a human subconscious experiment to see if we can still do it. Which we know we can, but at least that removes the vision and that removes the hearing it. So what else could be?
Right.
Where is it coming from?
I like the train of thought of removing our influences.
Yes.
But once again, the only problem I see with that is if they know you're going to be asking yes and no questions, then they're going to be listening for a yes and no. So they're subconsciously going to be thinking about a yes or a no.
Okay.
So that might influence the way they're holding the pendulum.
Maybe. What if you don't ask any questions? Just let it hang there and see what happens.
You see what they do?
Yeah.
There's your control. Does the paranormal need the human factor to communicate? No.
No, it does not.
I mean, in a sense.
I don't think you don't like. Well, actually, if you think about it, they have that Boo Bear where it's that little bear that asks questions. That's technically removing the human part. So you couldn't use that.
Somebody had to record the voice.
Huh?
Somebody had to record the voice.
Not if it's electronic.
Who's recording the voice?
Well, the teddy bear's voice?
Yeah, you can either record the voice or you have to apply the voice
weird,
somehow.
Yeah, just use the weird computer electronic voice and just put it in the bear.
But there's a human element there. Somebody's
okay. But what I'm saying is, like, in the actual experiment itself, you're removing you from the experience. Just talking in terms of the pendulum or the Ouija. Oh, okay, cool.
So with the pendulum, I've seen people, like, there's a rig some people have where it's like a little stem that comes off of this stand where they hang
Yeah.
the pendulum on there, and the board itself that's under it has like the yes no kind of things like a Ouija board would have, and they just let it hang there.
Yes.
So I mean, you can take the human element out of it as far as like the physical interaction. The Ouija board, unfortunately, that's the whole point of it, is to use everybody's collective energy and you
Yeah,
transfer that energy
it's
to your
it's a
touch.
channeling of sorts, like they used to do. Like I said, to me, I really don't see a difference in Ouija boards as compared to seances. Except seances, you're not calling for a spirit to speak, or sorry, Ouija boards, you're not calling for a spirit to speak through you. I mean, I guess you are actually in a way,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not like physical voice though. You're not calling for that. But
So let's get this out of the way
see,
early.
I'm right there with you, Cassie. I'm right there with you. I can't sit still either. I shake so much.
Let's get this out of the way early then. Every form of spirit communication, whether it be a Ouija board, pendulum, EVP, running digital recorders, spirit boxes, ITC,
Yeah.
all of that is a form of seance.
Yeah, because you're reaching out to the spirits.
Yeah. You're looking to communicate. That's a form of seance.
Yeah.
Somebody gets possessed, that's another thing. You ask them questions
Right.
while they're possessed. It's like, hey, this is like the Victorian days.
Dude, how crazy? I mean, no, that would be nuts. What's it like on the
Just
other
say it.
side? Y'all burn
Say
in
what you're
hell.
thinking.
What? No, I was just ask questions while they're possessed.
Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Like just a full on Evil Dead moment going on here. Just
Sounds like a scary movie, but
what is it like on the other side? It's pain and agony forever. All right, so that's check mark. What's it?
your mother's down here with us. Would you like to leave a message? Yeah, Mom. Would you please get out of there? You're no fun.
That's interesting, Josh. That's a very good point. He says, I think the Earth's rotation and or gravity would have an effect on the pendulum somehow.
Very possible.
And if you think about it too, isn't there? I mean, you have the natural energy lines around the Earth, so could that manipulate the pendulum in certain ways too?
It's very possible. I don't know if like the people that use pendulums, like if they have to calibrate things, like with the board, if they use a board underneath it, like they have to shift it like it's a like a compass or whatever. But I would imagine like the electromagnetic field, like I don't know if that would influence the chain or the metal that is attached to it, the crystal, if it's a crystal. What does that do with that energy?
The wind.
I think you would probably, the way you could control that is like do a test, hold it where if you're using a stem to hold it, just monitor it for a while without asking questions. That way like if it's just going to hang there and not move, or if there's something that's going to be moving it without any questions. Because if you're not asking questions and it starts moving, then there's no sense in even doing that.
Well, but you'd have to do it in two ways. I feel like you'd have to do that experiment where you're watching it, and then you have to do another experiment where it's recorded, and then you watch it. That way you get full effect of, did I manipulate it, or did this do its own thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You could also do an experiment where you have like an EM pump or something like that in the room, and just kind of raise that energy in the room and see if that has any effect on the pendulum itself. Again, depending on the type of pendulum you're using, I'm assuming there might be something to that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But so kind of like speed bump away from pendulums here for a second. So this was to me very interesting. Back in the day, in the time of spiritualism, it was so easy for Christians to be a part of it because Christianity is a big spiritual thing. It's very spiritual.
Yep.
A lot of people don't really realize that either. So they saw this as like, oh, well, it's a spiritual thing that if Jesus can do it, I can do it. And Jesus talked to the dead pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Like, it was very common. So Back in the day, they saw it as another type of just like kind of a blanket over Christianity. And the thing is, the Catholic Church was like, no, that's the devil. You're
Yeah.
participating in the devil. It's not actual God forming. And it's just like, here we go
Okay.
again. The church
So
getting
while we're
involved. People's
while we're on this religious talk, then, so with Christianity, you know, you were talking about Catholicism was like calling Christianity the devil and whatnot. The Christianity also called the Celtics
yes,
evil
the
for their
Celtics, the
practices,
Gnostics. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I
and
mean,
then
that's how
and
it
then
goes.
they stole aspects of their religion and
Yep.
made it their own.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. Organized religion has done that for several years.
Yeah,
It's how they appease to the locals in that area. Oh, you like this stuff? Well, let's put a tree in our holiday too.
but you gotta pay for stuff. Like you better show up to church and pay for your repentance or whatever.
Yeah,
God
but
forgives you $100.
to me,
Um, yeah,
it, it's an interesting thought. But so, with that being said, though, a lot of the seances were just a normal, commonplace thing. For a lot of people, it was a very, very common thing. You just get together, and
my
it
internet's
brought families together. Like it's
you're
just,
chopping.
oh shoot, sorry. To me, it was a very common thing
Shit.
with families, and it would bring families together.
Time out.
Better now? Kind of. No, not really.
There you are.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Want to see it again?
No, get it away from me.
Anyways, we're stupid.
If you know, you know.
If you
If you
know,
know,
you
you know.
absolutely know. Oh my god.
Um, so let's move on to my favorite. This is my favorite form of communication. Just using digital recorders. How about that action?
Good point.
I think.
They would. Oh, sorry, Josh. He said they were fascinated with death. Charles Dickens inspired a lot of that too.
Mhm. So with recorders, again, like I said earlier, anything you do to try to communicate with spirits is a form of seance. But I feel like with the right digital recorders and the right judgment,
Oh yeah,
you can collect some really good examples of voices,
dude.
some clear cut voices and stuff.
That's to me. I feel like just voice recording because I feel like that's the most commonplace and easier to access different ranges of frequency,
Uh huh.
which is why we have so much evidence in the world of recorders or from recorders.
So this is why I like one of the reasons why I like recorders over, say, spirit boxes or ITC methods. You're using the natural background static, the natural frequencies, everything that's happening in that moment. You're not creating an artificial one. You're not using one that's coming in, pouring in from somewhere else that somebody else is already using. So when you're using the environment's natural RF field, the natural sound around you, I think that adds a little bit more legitimacy to a capture than it would be for, say, radio station.
Yeah,
How much of that came through?
all of it. I got all of it.
Oh, cool. Nice. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I prefer the recorder, just a regular recorder, over a spirit box, which really annoys my ITC friends, I'm sure.
No, so Josh has another good point. I have a hard time believing that screaming whisper EVPs sounds like some person scratched the recorder or scratched the recorder over the microphone to me. But here's the beauty
He's
thing,
talking about
Josh.
he's talking about that Panasonic recorder, and that's on
Yeah,
all the shows,
here's
the
the thing.
DR50 or something.
You put that recorder down and no one's near it, and that comes across. What about then?
Well, so people that have investigated that recorder, who have researched it and tested it and everything, have said that even environmental factors, like it could be just like a regular sound, because that recorder actually had like some kind of, I want to say a malfunction or a defect or something like that. That's why it wasn't mass produced. There was a defect in it where it was taking like regular sound and just either amplifying it or just like completely obliterating the sound. So you're getting those loud screaming type scratchy sounds on that recorder. That's doctors were using those recorders so they take notes and stuff, but they kept getting all that interference on their audio, so they just stopped using it. Um, so that's a big reason why there's a conflict about that DR50 or DR60 or whatever it's called, that recorder that's used on all these shows, because on these shows they can play you a mouse fart and tell you it says get out,
Right.
and because they'll put the words up on the screen, most
Power
people will
suggestion.
believe that. Yeah, and they'll be like, oh, they got so much evidence.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's entertainment purposes, and so I don't like that recorder. I don't like to use it myself. Sometimes there's some really interesting, what sounds like voices come through. I'm not going to lie, but that could have been caught on another recorder as well. All that scratching, screaming, whispery sounds,
Yeah.
I'm not here for that. Even on a regular recorder, I don't want to hear like faint whispers or anything like that. I don't want that. I want a clear voice. I want
Absolutely.
Class A all the way.
Class A EVPs. Dwayne said, I've got some great EVPs on digital recorders. Supposedly, the analog recorders are even more natural and legitimate. I've never done an analog recorder yet, though. Or yet.
So
That would be cool to check out, too.
So here's again, there's a debate versus digital versus analog, and this is the biggest reason why people are for the analog. The tapes, the cassette tapes, that strip is a magnetic strip. So if you think about the magnetic field being a carrier for voices or something, it could possibly be easier to implement its voice or put its voice on a cassette to record it. So that's like a big proponent for using analog recorders. I've used both. Seemingly, never one was not better than the other from what I've experienced, but that's just a small sample, you know.
Yeah. That'd be wild. Absolutely wild. But
The reason
see, I've
digital,
always wondered because a lot of people are using those. So that one recorder that a lot of people are using now, I think it's a Panasonic. And
yeah, it's a DR50 or whatever.
is that an analog? Is that what that is?
No, it's digital.
It's still digital too, but why is it so good? Is it because it does that effect where it's like you ask a question and then if it doesn't hear anything, then it goes to the next question. So it's just like boom, 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 boom.
No, it's that defect that I was talking about.
Okay,
It has
gotcha.
a defect where it'll take like just regular ambient sound and it'll accidentally amplify it, or it'll squelch it, or it'll squeal it, or
Interesting.
yeah, that's why there's so much controversy around it. People that aren't on TV that that talk about it, they don't like it, and they've exposed that recorder. But if you're on a show, that recorder is the best thing to use because look at all the evidence we caught.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is used a lot on shows.
Now, when it comes to the analog versus digital, I prefer digital just because it's so much easier to get it put on a computer instead of trying to find that spot, then try to record it to a recording device, which you're going to be converting it from that analog to a digital. So, yeah, digital's more easily handled, especially for the time that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes more sense.
Let's see. People use cell phones a lot. That's another
thing. I don't know if I trust there's a lot of cell phone apps I don't trust. I don't know. It's hard for me to trust a lot of apps, but
yeah.
So Cassie said, I recently inherited a tape recorder and some cassettes, going to try out with my digital recorder and compare results. That's a great idea, Cassie. I
Yep,
like
run them
that.
both at the same time. Go somewhere, see if you catch anything.
And let
Keep
us
us
know.
posted. Yeah,
Yeah, what he said. But oh gosh, what did you just say?
cell phones.
Cell phones. Thank you. Um, there are specific apps that I do trust only because I have a friend who knows code and has ran those some apps through code. So,
Hmm.
and I'd personally rather not get into a who's who, what app. I don't care. I'm not going to talk about the ones that I trust. I just will say there's several that I don't trust, and there's several that I'm skeptical about, but I'd like to see in the future. My problem is phones listen to you,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
so they can feed that back, and it can search through a word bank and figure out what it wants to say.
I've always had a problem with cell phone apps. For that reason, right there. You know, think of Google. How often Google listens to us when
Constantly.
we're talking to our friends about, say, I want to buy an umbrella, and you keep talking about the umbrella, it's rainy and all this, and then you start seeing the advertisements on Facebook.
That was me. I was talking about getting some dental work done at work, and then it was like, "Oh, something dental discount off," and I'm like, "You sons of bucks!" On Facebook,
Yeah.
listening to my every word.
Oh yeah. So if Google's doing that, what's to say these other apps aren't? Especially if they're being sold through Google Play, they've got to have.
Exactly.
I'm going to assume that they've got to have some kind of thing from Google saying that Google has the right to access that app.
Also, anytime you search anything in Google, it's going to give you the similar results of certain like things. It's going to give you results of like things like that or things that people would look up after. It's a whole algorithm based giant thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it knows you before you really think about it.
but I will say this: there are some people that develop these apps. Their heart's in the right place.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, their mind is in a is actually more extraordinary than mine when it comes to coding and stuff. I can't code. I can't do that shit.
no, I can't either. Yeah,
You so I respect the people that do that make these apps. And I've always said there is nothing wrong with anybody making their money on stuff like that. You know, people think they're
yeah.
exploiting the paranormal. Well, you guys are still buying it. They're making money. There's nothing wrong with that.
Their success.
It's just how they do it, how they go about it. That's the biggest thing I have a problem with in any of the elements of the paranormal field, the paratainment stuff. It's not that you're doing it; it's just how you go about doing it. That bugs me.
Yes.
So yeah, the apps I won't use them. I know there's some. I have friends, good friends that use them. Aaron Thompson, he likes to use the apps. That's his thing. I'm not going to fault him for it. It's if it
Every
works
now and
for
then,
him, it works for him. If he gets some,
every now and then, I'll throw in one for a little bit of spice just to see if I'll get anything. But it's not a. I base everything off of this app. You know what I mean?
yeah, yep. And kind of follows along with the Spirit radios, where
Yeah.
like this PSB7 or the PSB11, the Geoport, all these other things.
Xbox,
Yeah, the
Microcom.
S Box, Microcom, all these use radio frequencies. Now the Geoport, I was looking into a little bit because I wanted to understand that because Josh told me like the one he has, like it runs off an app, but the
Hmm.
original Geoports don't.
Huh.
Kind of weird. So the Geoport was built by George Brown, and from what he says, this is what it's supposed to do. He said it scans radio and converts electromagnetic and vibrational waves to audio. So it does the sound first. It scans the radio, and then that goes through an EMF circuit and reverb device that allows modulation of the source by fluctuating the EMF and vibrations. So basically, it's taking the radio frequencies, it's adding like an EMF field or frequency to that, and then it's modulating it with vibration. So it's giving it pitch. So like if something wanted to communicate, it'll be able to have inflection and things of that nature. But they've also got like a kind of like a squelch kind of thing on there. So it has like this weird.
Yeah, the different effects. It's just meh.
Yeah.
For me, it's
yeah.
I don't know. It starts to more not manipulation, but it just I don't know. And there's people that they do it and they oh man we get some interesting things, but I don't understand it. I don't know why it needs to be in there, but
right.
You know what I mean?
I've always been verbal about this and saying that if you want the best possible EVP, why are we adding background noise and modulation and distortion? Exactly. Why are we adding all these effects to the voice? Because then once you're changing it from its original state, it's no longer what you captured; it's what you made it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, again, for me, the recorder, that's it. That's all I need. I'll amplify it. I'll bring up the volume on it, but I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to filter anything out. Like, there's no point in that. I don't want a robot voice.
No, and those that can and they can still hear things, it just blows my mind. But
yeah, no, that's impressive in itself. That's an art form. Yes. We talked about that a lot. Like we singled out Spurrier, Katie Stafford. You know, those guys. They can pick stuff out that I wouldn't hear.
You'd have to listen to it at least 2 or 3 times to oh shoot, that actually said that. Okay.
Yeah. Like there's no way I could sit and listen to some of these boxes and be like, that just said this, that just said that. You know, I might catch one or two, but I'm not going to catch what they catch. They've got an ear for it.
100%. It's crazy, but I mean, to me, it's interesting to think of the science behind it because, you know, back in the day where they had different kinds of spirit boxes.
You're cutting out on my end.
Okay, I started to hear it too. You still there?
Yes, I am.
All right, cool.
There we go.
So, you know, a little back in the day when it just seemed like I'm trying to think of the science behind radios and picking up sound from like air, just, you know what I mean? Like just
right.
I'm trying to think of the science behind that. I can't fully wrap my head around it at the moment, but I know it's basically like a obviously it has to have a sending and a receiving unit. Well, what is the sending and what is the receiving kind of thing? It's all electronic, obviously, but it's just interesting that if that stuff's like, oh, you know what? I thought was very interesting. Spoiler alert, maybe. And I watched a movie. I'm not going to spoil anything. I watched a movie where there was this technology that could sense ripples in the atmosphere, and it was like a time vortex sort of thing. And it was always in like a thunderstorm where there's just, you know, massive amounts of energy, which makes a lot of sense. You know, I mean, a lot of scientists used electricity from lightning to do things. So the amount of energy is just, you know, unlimited. Not unlimited, but capped off. Exactly. It's alive! So it's really cool to me to think that back to just the whole sound thing, that we obviously know frequencies exist. We just can't necessarily see them.
No.
And it's just it's cool to think of how many frequencies there are. Yeah.
In a sense, when we were talking about mandalas, that's the only visual representation we can get of it.
Yes. When you have to have some sort of other like loosely based thing that can be easily shaped to
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool stuff. That's really neat. That's like almost as natural as you can get, like just pure energy in nature. That's pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. Real quick, I'm just going to run through
Yeah,
the last one here. Like the Ovilus. We were talking about not having
yeah.
all the radio frequencies. The Ovilus, like when that came out, that thing was the bomb. That's what I wanted when
Oh
I
yeah,
got to use
that's
an
what everyone
Ovilus 3.
said.
And it seems like everybody wants the Ovilus 3. Like, I don't know why. Like, I wanted it because that's what I've used, and I liked how it didn't respond
Yeah.
to all my stuff. But now, with the 5, you have Wi-Fi connection and Bluetooth connection and all these different connections to it. It's like, why are we doing that?
Right.
But, supposedly it worked on a word bank and it would measure ambient, you know, ambient temperature, EMF, some other things that would give it a numeric value, and then it would search
Okay.
this library, and that whatever word was associated with that number, it would pull that word.
Okay.
That's what I understood about it. So like a spirit would have to change the environment around the actual device to pick that word or whatever. But it's like, how would they know
Right.
what numeric value goes with that word? Then again, spirits traveling in the ether. That what is it? The Akashic record, the library of infinite knowledge, and
Past life and infinite knowledge and everything. Yeah.
yeah.
Let me.
So I mean, that would make sense why they would be able to figure out how to manipulate our technology, even from
Yes.
being a ghost from the 1800s.
Yeah.
They're swimming in that knowledge.
Yeah.
Most active location ever investigated was during severe thunderstorms. Yeah, passive
I will
energy.
say.
And
I
howdy,
remember
Lord.
I saw, to me, so I was at Belvoir Winery and I had a very interesting experience there. And there was a thunderstorm, like literally not far from the location, and it was happening.
Yeah,
And I remember looking down a hallway and seeing like a white face just like flash. And like not like it was pretty good size down the hallway, but I remember seeing like this full on just white face.
right.
Here's the thing. I had 3 other people looking down the same hallway. They didn't see it. I only saw it.
Hmm.
Dave, that moment was probably one of the most intense moments, like spiritual wise, I have ever like ghost hunting moment I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen things before, but it's been on request. That was the first time that I've ever seen just a boom, just whoa,
Like, there it is.
big, yeah, like oh, dude, it rocked me for sure. It
Yeah.
actually like scared the crap out of me. I was just like, oh man, like just your body just naturally reacts. You don't even think about it. It goes, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was during a thunderstorm, and I definitely think storms can help. That's why I was hoping the storm would have helped with Malvern, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there is still some activity, but not a lot.
So, real quick, I'm going to throw this out there, guys. So the reason we decided to do the show on spirit communication, the devices and things like that, next week we're going to have a guest on. We'll be on at our normal time at 8 o'clock. But we have a special guest on. He's a builder of equipment. His name is Austin Maynard. If you know Austin, or if you don't know Austin, he runs multiple, I guess, locations in Ohio. On top of building equipment, he also builds equipment for Nick Groff on Deathwalker. He's been featured in this last season. He started being featured in the show, but he's going to be on with us. We're going to be talking a lot more about spirit communication and some of the ITC. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and who knows where else we'll go from there. He's a fellow Bears fan, and I have to throw that
Nice.
in there. so you'll hear some bear down in there. But he and I, we never, when we first started talking, we didn't get off on the right foot. Like, he'd seen some of my posts, and I've commented on some of his posts, and we weren't really, like, we were Facebook friends, but we never talked. So I guess I think it was after one post that he made, and I countered it, and he said something, and I just, like, fuck it. I called him. I called him on Facebook, and we had a 2 or 3 hour conversation, and we just kind of clicked then. So it was really cool.
Nice.
So sometimes I'm a dick, but I'll call people on it. Get to the bottom of it. So yeah, Austin will be on next week. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, we're at the beginning of the show. We were talking about Project Fear and what we had captured. You want to reiterate what happened?
Oh, yeah.
What we caught?
So we were watching one of the investigators. He was doing they were all doing solos, but particularly this one investigator, and I can't remember his name.
Not Tanner, but the other guy.
Yeah. Alex,
yeah.
Alex was looking down the hallway to the right, and he heard some noises first, and then he looked down the hallway to the right. Well, when he was looking down the hallway, his flashlight was shining. You could see in the camera what looked like a shadow or something block out some light in the door frame and then come back in. Mm-hmm. So Dave
I had
sent
that video
to
queued up right here.
So you're going to throw it up? Is that what you said?
Yep, I'm going to throw it up.
Okay,
here.
so yeah, just see if you guys see it.
Hello?
Oh,
Very...
can you loop it?
Yeah, I've...
Hello?
See that?
I'll play it again.
Hello?
You guys can see it. You what?
I said I hope so. All right, you know what? Hold on. Let me see if I can just... Is it on TikTok? Is that where it's at?
No, it's not on TikTok. I didn't put it on TikTok.
Oh, it's on anything?
It's on my phone.
Okay, never mind.
But I can do this.
Ooh, that'd be cool. I would love to. Or that'd be awesome. I hope it was some really cool audio. That's cool.
What is it? What you put?
I ain't put nothing.
I can't see it.
Your audio is messed up. Yeah, your audio went really weird. But okay. Cassie said she did see it though. What?
Okay. Let me put this up here.
Yeah.
This is where the shadow comes across, okay? Right where I'm pointing. Now I'm gonna play the video for you.
Hold on. Can you guys understand Dave at all? Like, if anybody's watching, put in the comments so you can understand what Dave is saying. Just to make sure.
Can you hear me all right?
You sound like a robot. Can you hear me all right? That's what just sounds weird.
How about now?
Lori says barely hear him. Cassie says barely. Okay, so where he's pointing, that little doorway right there, that little thing, you see the shadow there is where it happens. Yeah, Lori says it sounds like you're in a vacuum. I was going to say a fan, like you're talking into a fan. But, yes, so where his finger's at is where the shadow is going to be.
Hello?
It's quick. It's like a...
Hello?
I noticed it and I was like, wait a second, what the fudge? And yeah, so we sent that off to Dakota and hopefully he sees it sometime.
Is my audio still garbled?
Yep. It's horrible, absolutely horrible.
Okay, wrap it up.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate y'all being here. Can't wait till next week when Austin is on. Can't wait to talk to him. It's gonna be awesome. Y'all have been great. Sorry about the change up of the time. Things just kind of get mixed up. Work, personal life. It's all good. Like, just appreciate y'all being here. That's what Dave has to say. So, everybody have a good night. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.